Folks, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for being with us today. My name is Paul. This is hour number 2, and we have a very interesting report to bring you this segment. Joining me now, I want to introduce Mr. Wendell Stratton. He is from Stratton Seed Company, calling in from Stuttgart. Mr. Stratton, Wendell, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you could come on because I want to share your story here. This specifically has to do with a bill that's being debated down there. It's called HB 1725 to transfer various state agencies to the Arkansas Agricultural Department, including the Plant Board, the Livestock and Poultry Commission. And I wanted to let you come on and give your take about this because I know you were in the committee room when this thing was originally passed. The debate was limited. I've read a lot of your opposition to this, and I think it's valid. Now, some people are trying to say this is about government efficiency or consolidation, which I'm all for, but I'm now more inclined to believe this is about people consolidating power and getting involved in industries and making industries political. What are your thoughts, Wendell Stratton?
Absolutely, Paul. You hit it right on the head here. Let me just say, for those that don't know me or don't know our company, I'm the second generation in our company. My father actually started our company 8 days before I arrived. So to say I basically grew up in the company is true. But I have worked actively in the company since 1970, since when I graduated from ASU with an ag degree. And we have worked hard to provide good products and services, not only for our local farmers, but also through a seed distribution product throughout the Southeast U.S. And I have worked directly in our industry with numerous ag associations that are very upset and very determined to bring the real story to the public about what's going on here.
So what is the real story? Because, the way I understand it is we have potentially, this is an executive agency, so we do know the governor's involved here. We do know this is something that he wants. And yet, your concerns, Joe, go ahead and cue this audio up, because the guy that's running this bill, he's State Representative Dan Douglas. This is just a brief clip of what he said when this bill failed, and it failed again today, but they did get more yes votes, so they're getting closer. This is what State Representative Dan Douglas said about this bill. Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this is a simple little bill that was conceived in a dark, dimly smoke-filled room with the purpose of trying to steal money and consolidate power away from industry. Or that's what they want you to think. I've heard a lot of misconceptions on this bill. I'll tell you the truth about the bill, and the truth is that the governor's office wants to streamline government and make it more efficient.
Now, is that true? Do you think that's the governor's motivations here, Mr. Stratton?
No, I don't. No, sir. And I can assure you that we're all for streamlining government and making it more efficient. And frankly, when I was able to testify in the House a few minutes in opposition after Representative Douglas presented this bill, and he talks about a saving of $600,000, he hasn't promoted and come back and discussed the facts that I presented there in the House committee, that the original budget for the Department of Agriculture was $300,000. Wes Ward told me in a meeting back in January that his current budget for the Department of Ag is between $1.9 and $2 million. Now, this proposal will basically destroy the plant board and its independence, because it gives the governor, through the Department of Ag or the Secretary of Agriculture, all authority to even override what the plant board decision and those members would make. And let me talk about that just a minute, because I think our people need to understand that this plant board is comprised of 18 members. 7 are appointed by the governor. 2 members represent the University of Arkansas and are non-voting positions. So Out of 16 voting members on the Arkansas State Plant Board, the governor appoints 7 of those.
Okay. Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Yes, I want to speak to some of the comments that Representative Douglas just said. And in the news article that ran Saturday in the Democrat Gazette, he really blasted the Farm Bureau and saying that they're not representing the farmer, and that is absolutely not true. He said that in his statements in the House as I listened to that on Friday afternoon. I don't know why in the process he has come out so strong to discredit the farmer. I want to come back and say that our business is directly tied to and is a part of 6 different associations here that are industry people that work directly with the farmer through all the business that we do. And let me go through that. It's the Arkansas Seed Dealers Association, the Arkansas Seed Growers Association, the Arkansas Crop Protection Association, the Arkansas Plant Food Association, the Ag Aviators, and the consultants. All of our people, as this began to materialize, recognized the need to come together and to see what we could do to make known what's going on here. We don't have a paid lobbyist. We all are working together in this process to help people understand. We in industry understand this impact on our farmer customers. This is not good for them. Because of our work in the industry, we totally understand that. And farmers in eastern Arkansas need to step up and speak up, call their representative, and tell them, yes, the Farm Bureau is correct. Yes, they do represent me. And we need your support to kill this bill in the House.
When did you first hear that this, not this specific legislation, not when the bill number was filed, when did you first hear that this might be what the governor wanted to do?
Well, I'll have to say it goes back to a phone call that I had over 2 years ago from one of our industry representatives that was serving on the plant board. And he said, Wendell, I just had a phone call from the director of the plant board at that time, had called him, and he told me that the governor's office had called and told him to call me and tell me to resign because they had somebody else that they wanted to appoint to my position. And I told him, I said, look, don't do that. You're elected by our group to serve in this capacity. You've served numerous years. You're qualified as well as experienced to serve in this role. And I'm upset that the governor felt like he could just call you and tell you to resign.
He doesn't have the power to do that.
That's right. He does not have the power to do that, but he did it anyway. So he did nothing at that point.
He didn't resign. He said, I'm not going to resign.
That's correct.
Okay.
A couple of months later, he calls me again a second time. And this was late in the session 2 years ago. And they told him then if he didn't resign, they were going to file a bill to revamp the plant board where they appointed all the people to it, and industry would have no say in the process. And again, he said, what do you think I should do? And I encouraged him to stay the course. I said, they don't have the power or the authority to do that. Now, if the governor wants to run a bill and change the format where he can elect them all, and it becomes law, then that's different. But in the meantime, he's not going to do this.
Wow.
When that happened that day, I called a few friends that are more politically connected than I am and asked their advice. What should we do? Said, you need to talk to the governor. So at that point, I called his office to speak to him. Of course, I had to tell him what I needed, and I got a call back, tell me more what's going on here. A few minutes later, I get another call back, and then later in the morning, I get a call back and said, Ms. Stratton, we've decided that this is just fine, and we're going to leave this alone. I mean, the point is they had no authority to make that call in the first place, and I think a man less informed may have followed through and done what he wanted, but the point is they don't have the authority to appoint that position anyway, so it should never have transpired. Since then, I have, and at that point, I asked to speak to the governor specifically on this item. Did not receive a phone call back. A couple of months later, I was invited to a Rick Crawford function in Jonesboro. I could not go, but I told the person that asked me to come, I said, I really would like to because I know the governor's going to be there, and frankly, he owes me a phone call, and I have not had that phone call. And she said, well, I'll mention this to him tomorrow and get him to call you. Well, sure enough, at the end of that meeting, he called me on his way back to Little Rock, and we had a good discussion as far as discussing the issue, but he was not receptive to my points in saying that, now, Governor, we elect these people to serve. They're from industry. They know the business. They're here to represent the farmer, and we want them to serve without, any influence from you. And he just let me know. He said, well, as governor, it's my right to appoint people to the various commissions and boards that I think can better serve the public. And I said, well, in this case, all of these people represent agriculture. It's their life. It's what they do. It's what they know. And I can assure you that everything they do isn't for them personally. They give a lot of time, of their time, to doing the right thing on the plant board. And I just wish you would allow them to do what they're there to do. We basically did not come to common ground, I would say. He heard my input. I heard his. I don't agree with his thoughts on it, and he pretty well let me know he didn't agree with mine.
We're talking with Wendell Stratton from Stratton Seed Company in Stuttgart. He obviously has been in this business a while. His family has. He's well established and knows what he's talking about. So this does appear to be more about political loyalties than it is about people who are, aware and knowledgeable about the industry that they're there to, oversee or whatever the case may be. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do. I will share this today, as this was brought up again, and it was quite disturbing when you read in the Saturday morning paper that Representative Douglas says, look, this was defeated. I'm pulling the bill for the session, and then for them to work over the weekend to secure more votes for that. It's very concerning to us and makes us realize, even after the fact that it was defeated the second time today, this probably isn't over, and we need to continue to work. And it's a shame that we have to do this because we all have a job to do. And it's not politics, and it's not taking our good time and effort away from our customer to fight something that's not in his best interest.
Let me ask you this. Does this give, if he were to get what he wants here, if the governor were to get what he wants, is he now all of a sudden increasing the amount of money he has control over by absorbing you guys?
Absolutely. And the real thing that is included as a part of this bill is what's called a Type 4 transfer. The original Department of Ag bill back in 2005, it was a Type 1 transfer. And I want to read just some things to you and to your listeners to let you know the difference. Under a Type 4 transfer, and shall continue to exercise his statutory authority, powers, duties, and functions, except that any rules, regulations, and standards issued by the board, commission, or other governing body shall be subject to written approval by the governor. Instead of the plant board having authority as it has had in the past, he must approve every action that they have.
Interesting.
And I don't think our elected officials, agriculture is an extremely complex industry. And I don't think he should be devoting his time and effort on decisions when we have 18 very qualified people to look at the facts, make a decision, and move forward.
It sounds like, I mean, this is about consolidating power. What you just said, what a Type 4 transfer is, I mean, that essentially means that the governor is giving himself dictatorial-like powers over a board that was autonomous, but now it would no longer be if he gets his wish.
I believe that to be true. This is the very reason in '05 and frankly in '02 was the first time that I was asked to testify on the need for a Department of Ag. I came out in strong opposition to it, as well as the Farm Bureau, in '02, and we really thought, okay, hopefully this will go away. Well, it didn't. They came back in '05. They had everything lined up. They had commitments from the legislature and moved it through in spite of our objections in '05. And our concerns then were that we would be dealing with something like this in the future. I hate to be right, but I tell you, 12 years ago, I nailed it, and a lot of other people did too. This is just giving them more authority over what we do. We don't need politics in our ag industry. It needs to be void of politics.
Do you think you guys are fighting any big business interests at all, concerned with some of this motivation behind this bill, like Monsanto, for example?
I am not in a position to know that. I don't know what their position is. I will say that with the dicamba issue that came up this summer, and I just... you would have to think possibly, but yet I don't know that, and I wouldn't say that without knowing it.
Okay. Well, I certainly can respect your caution there. But anyway, so again, we're talking with Mr. Wendell Stratton, Stratton Seed Company. He's calling in from Stuttgart. And if you're in our listening area in Stuttgart, thanks for listening to KW8K 1240 AM or 102.7 FM. So, my whiteboard today, Mr. Stratton, it says run out the clock. As my producer just signals to our own clock in that we're running to time here. But essentially, we've got a couple weeks left in session. It really comes down to what you just said. You thought the bill was pulled, and yet they tried to sneak it through again today, catching everybody flat-footed. And so hopefully people who don't want this consolidation of power and are not going to buy the carefully crafted language that, hey, this is about government efficiency, when in reality this is about taking away farmers who are in a position to govern their industry or manage their industry in a way versus giving it to one man in the governor's mansion.
Very much so, and I would like to say that my friend Ray Vester, that has served on the plant board 18 years in a rice farmer position, is currently serving as vice chairman of the plant board, serves on the Rice Federation National Committee and has great relationship with EPA, has a real knowledge of the industry, and has helped Arkansas agriculture through that. His appointment was up last week, and the governor has appointed somebody else. And why would you appoint another farmer to this without the experience and the knowledge that Ray has when he has effectively served so well for 18 years? Interesting.
Okay, Ray Vester. He didn't get appointed. So who did get appointed in his place? Do you know?
I believe his last name is Walt. He's from the Harrisburg area, I'm told, and I'm told he's a nice man. But yet, as he comes in this position, it will be a real learning curve for him because the plant board covers a broad range of things in the ag industry, even beyond row crop farming.
Okay. All right.
Paul, there's one other thing that just occurred to me that I haven't mentioned, and you mentioned Monsanto a minute ago. I thought it was very strange, and many of us in the industry thought it was, that the governor appointed, frankly, our Monsanto rep to the plant board 2 years ago in a farmer's position. Now, that's just not right, because when we had this dicamba discussion in the plant board this past year with all the issues that evolved through that, and I know a lot of your audience is used to that from what happened in Northeast Arkansas, but for a Monsanto representative to sit in a farmer's chair, that's just not correct. And I understand his appointment is up for consideration again in the Senate, and hopefully the governor will submit somebody else that truly represents the farmer's interest.
Yeah, like maybe a farmer. I mean, I'm sure the guy's fine, but if he's working for Monsanto and that's the exact big business conflict, or maybe not a conflict necessarily, but certainly you can kind of see who the governor's listening to. And anyway, it's a fascinating story, and I'm glad, Mr. Stratton, that you could come on and share it with us very much, and let us know what else you hear. Okay.
I will, Paul. I sincerely appreciate your interest, and I just want to appeal to the farmers in eastern Arkansas. Call your legislative representative and please tell them to continue the fight and get other people informed about what's going on here, because we do not need this in agriculture.
All right, Mr. Wendell Stratton, we appreciate it, sir. Be safe. Folks, we got to go to